Well, viewers, those are the headlines in our top focus. U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that he was happy to work with Democrats on healthcare policy, a key sticking point in the attempts to reopen the government. But the shutdown must end first, is what he has emphasized. Trump has also stated that he would be open to making a deal on subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, which Democrats are demanding in order to break an impasse with Republican lawmakers over the U.S. government shutdown. Let's in fact listen into what Trump had to say.
It could, at some point it will, and the Democrats are the ones that started this, and if you think about it, it's about health care to a large extent. It's about, we want great health care for people. We don't want to give the money away to other people that come pouring into our country, and they've already poured it because nobody's coming into our country. Now we have the border totally stopped. In fact, numbers we just announced again, we're at another zero. So we have zero for 4 months in a row. Zero people coming into our country illegally. That's a pretty good number. I'm not sure even I can believe that, Doug, if you want to know the truth. Zero. We went from millions of people to zero, but it's pretty close to that number. And the way you stop them is not to give away, not to announce that you're giving everybody free health care, free this and that, but what that does is it affects the American people, because the American people are unable to get good health care. Obamacare has been a wreck, as you know, and to do that, we have to keep it propped up and do the best you can with it. It's a mess.
The White House has backed Trump's assertion that U.S. government employees were being laid off right now due to the shutdown. They've also warned that job losses could result if Congress does not restore federal funding. Meanwhile, U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has stated that the White House has gone radio silent since the Democrats' last meeting with President Trump on the federal government shutdown. Listen in to what Jeffries had to say.
Well, the White House has gone radio silent since the Oval Office meeting last Monday, and neither Leader Schumer or myself have heard a word from the administration about resolving this issue, making clear to us that the White House wanted to shut the government down, to continue the chaos that they've been inflicting on the American people since day one of this presidency.
With us on the broadcast is Mr. Spencer Critchley, communications strategist and political analyst, joining us from California. Thank you so much for taking our time, speaking to us on NewsX World. At the outset, this political blame game between the Democrats and Republicans is only escalating as the shutdown is now in its 7th day, impacting people, furloughing the federal employees. Some might even be laid off. In your assessment, how long will this continue? Because it does not seem like either party is willing to back off.
Well, first of all, I want to push back respectfully on this phrase blame game, which is often used, and understandably based on past history with normal politics in the United States, when you would often observe both parties engaging in a blame game as they jockeyed for position. But I think we're looking at something very different now. We no longer have two parties who are practicing normal democratic politics. We have one party which has decided to I was going to say abandon democracy, but that doesn't really do full justice to what they're doing. They are attacking and dismantling democracy, and they cannot be trusted as any kind of good faith negotiating partner. So this is not just normal political rhetoric with two normal parties jockeying for position. The Republican Party has demonstrated, unfortunately, under President Trump, that it cannot be trusted. In the clip you just played of President Trump, everything he said was a lie. The lie, for example, that somehow illegal immigrants are being given free health care. This is a lie. The lie that Obamacare is a disaster, or whatever the word he used was, that was a lie. And you can tell, by the way, one of his signals of his lies is when he says, "as you know." That's a signal that he's lying at that moment. The trouble is, though, that even to dispute those lies is to over-dignify them. The problem that looms over any individual lie, any individual policy dispute, is that Donald Trump lies about everything, that he has no good faith intention to try to govern on behalf of the American people. He's only interested in accruing power for himself. and that is the super issue that outweighs all the other issues. As far as how long this shutdown could continue, I hope the Democrats have found their nerve and will hang on as long as it takes, because they need to realize they do not have a negotiating partner. They cannot trust that the Republicans will negotiate on any of these issues, just like they haven't so far. And people's lives are at stake with this health care issue. So I hope the Democrats stand firm as long as it takes. And I think actually the Trump administration will back down if they do.
And so a quick follow-up to that, if the deadlock does continue, how will this impact the average American and the American economy at large? Because we're seeing inflation, we're also seeing, and experts are also warning that a recession is looming large due to the tariff policies that Trump has been imposing on other countries in particular. What sort of impact would we see in the long run?
Well, normally a government shutdown, and there again we're referring to normally, but these are no longer normal times. But in the past, normally a government shutdown would cause some short-term pain, but the economy would recover from it fairly quickly, and normally these shutdowns would not last very long. The problem here is that even if Democrats were to fold, and again I hope they don't, but if they were, the American people would still be facing the disastrous impacts of Trump's healthcare policy, which would see their insurance premiums doubling or more. And we're talking about enormous amounts of money for ordinary working people. People who might make, say, $60,000 or $70,000 in the US, which is a very middle income salary, would find themselves paying $20,000 or more just for health insurance, which is ruinous. Then there's the impact, as you mentioned, of the tariffs. There's the slash and burn policy towards eliminating government positions, which will happen anyway, whether there's a shutdown or not. All of this is going to add up to increasing economic pain for the United States, and actually also significantly weaker security for the United States as Trump diverts military resources, for example, to trying to police his own citizens, and as he grievously damages America's alliances and reputation around the world.
And a quick follow-up to what you just stated. In your assessment, will this then be a wake-up call for Trump's MAGA base, which is often the middle class in the rural areas?
I think we're starting to see that. His support has never been particularly high, although it's been very solid amongst his base, as you note. But we're starting to see his already weak numbers declining and starting to cut into his base. Most importantly, he's losing independent voters, the small block of voters who tend to decide U.S. presidential elections these days, which are usually determined by small margins, which can be made up entirely of independent voters, is enough to make up those margins. But we're starting even to see members of his base, for example, farmers, who are suffering terribly. Soybean farmers, notably, last year sold $12 billion worth of soybeans to China. This year they're selling $0 worth of soybeans to China. And they're starting to wonder, how is it that this man they thought was their friend and ally is doing such damaging things to them, to the point that many of them are looking at bankruptcy in the coming year unless they get a bailout, such as the bailout they had to get during the first Trump administration to the tune of tens of billions of dollars.
All right, so I request you to stay on with us.